Brazil in shock, Jair Bolsonaro's arrest. The detention of the former president sparks immediate reactions from his sons, allies, and international repercussions. Welcome to the Geopolitics Update channel. Saturday, November 22, 2025. Brazil woke up to the news of former President Jair Bolsonaro's arrest at 6:35 a.m. in Brasilia. The court decision surprised both allies and opponents, dominating political debate at home and abroad. His sons, Flavio, Eduardo, and Carlos, reacted publicly, denouncing political persecution and warning of risks to the former president's health. A request for humanitarian house arrest was denied, despite medical claims related to the after-effects of the 2018 stabbing. Bolsonaro was taken to a special federal police cell, avoiding transfer to a common prison. The measure partially respected the prerogatives of a former head of state and military officer but did not ease political tension. The episode was interpreted as a turning point in the intensification of disputes between government and opposition. Internationally, analysts highlight that the arrest could provoke a reaction from the United States. The Trump administration is considering possible responses, such as individual sanctions under the Magnitsky Act, suspension of military cooperation in strategic programs, and technological restrictions. These possibilities, treated as hypotheses, reflect the gravity Washington attributes to the episode. Domestically, the reaction was immediate. Flavio Bolsonaro declared that if his father were to die in prison, responsibility would fall on Brazilian authorities. The statement heightened tensions and mobilized supporters. The government, in turn, defends the legality of the decision and insists the process follows institutional norms. The arrest of Jair Bolsonaro represents a critical moment for Brazil, with repercussions that go beyond national borders and may redefine diplomatic relations and domestic politics. The former president was taken into preventive custody by the federal police in Brasilia, by order of Supreme Court Justice Alexandre. The decision, made during a holiday, surprised allies and opponents alike. Bolsonaro had already been under house arrest since August, but the new detention was linked to another investigation, separate from the coup attempt inquiry. He was taken to the federal police's regional headquarters in the southern police sector of the capital. According to press reports, Moraes' decision directly mentioned Bolsonaro's sons Eduardo and Flavio. The justice argued that Eduardo had adopted a strategy of leaving the country to avoid criminal prosecution, temporarily abandoning his parliamentary mandate. Flavio was cited for using methods similar to those employed by groups investigated for the 2022 coup attempt. These references heightened political tension and reinforced the perception that the case involves not only the former president but also his family. Analysts note that the preventive arrest may have been timed to coincide with other events, diverting attention from financial sector plea bargains and criticism of the government's performance at international forums. Regardless of motivation, the episode reinforced the narrative of intensifying political disputes in Brazil. Internationally, the arrest reverberated in the United States. The Trump administration is weighing possible responses, such as individual sanctions, suspension of military cooperation, and technological restrictions. These measures are treated as hypotheses, reflecting the seriousness Washington assigns to the case. The decision included measures to avoid media exposure, such as no handcuffs and discreet transfer to the federal police headquarters. President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva was informed of the arrest by a phone call from the Federal Police Director General. The request for humanitarian house arrest was denied, despite defense claims of health problems stemming from the 2018 attack. The reaction was immediate. Former First Lady Michelle Bolsonaro posted on social media, emphasizing confidence and resilience in the face of Bolsonaro's sentence of 27 years and 3 months for attempted coup d'état. Her statement underscored the emotional impact of the episode on allies and supporters. International analysts believe the arrest could affect diplomatic relations between Brazil and the United States. The Trump administration, which had already criticized censorship and political persecution in Brazil, is studying possible responses. Among the options discussed are individual sanctions, suspension of military cooperation, and technological restrictions. Expectations are that after progress in peace negotiations between Russia and Ukraine, Washington will turn greater attention to Latin America. Domestically, Bolsonaro's arrest intensified political polarization. His sons Flavio and Eduardo harshly criticized the decision, while allies denounced persecution. The government defends the legality of the process, insisting it follows institutional norms. The opposition, meanwhile, sees the episode as a sign of democratic fragility. Bolsonaro's arrest represents a decisive moment for Brazil, with repercussions that extend beyond national borders. The arrest continues to generate political and institutional fallout. Opposition lawmakers denounced persecution, while government supporters defended the measure as necessary to preserve democratic stability. The narrative around the arrest gained traction on social media, where Bolsonaro supporters organized both online and street demonstrations. Political groups began discussing mobilization strategies, reinforcing existing polarization. Internationally, analysts suggest the arrest could accelerate external pressure on Brazil. Washington is closely monitoring developments, considering individual sanctions, suspension of military cooperation, and technological restrictions. These possibilities are treated as analyses, not finalized decisions, reflecting the seriousness attributed to the episode. In summary, Bolsonaro's arrest goes beyond the legal sphere. It has become a catalyst for internal and external debates, heightening political tension and placing Brazil at the center of global geopolitical discussions. In Congress, opposition lawmakers intensified criticism of the Supreme Court, accusing Justice Alexandre de Moraes of overstepping his authority. Government supporters, however, insist the measure is legitimate and necessary to ensure institutional stability. This clash deepened political polarization and reignited debates about the limits of judicial power in cases involving former heads of state. On the streets, demonstrations began to organize in several capitals. Groups supporting the former president denounce political persecution, while government supporters defend the legality of the decision. Popular mobilization reflects the tense climate and shows that the episode extends beyond institutions, directly reaching society. International media highlight that the Brazilian case could become a test for democratic resilience in Latin America. Analysts point out that with the war in Ukraine moving toward peace negotiations, the United States may redirect part of its attention to the region. In this context, Brazil is seen as a strategic player in political and economic disputes. Bolsonaro's arrest not only intensifies internal polarization but also positions Brazil as a key actor in global debates on democracy and geopolitics. The arrest has been described as a watershed moment in Brazilian politics. The episode mobilized allies and opponents, highlighting the role of institutions in crises of major impact. The Supreme Court reinforced its position as guardian of constitutional order, while opposition sectors accused the judiciary of acting politically. International repercussions continue to grow. Analysts note that Washington is closely watching developments, considering possible responses such as individual sanctions, suspension of military cooperation, and technological restrictions. These possibilities are treated as analyses, not finalized decisions, reflecting the seriousness attributed to the case. Domestically, demonstrations intensified in several capitals. Groups supporting the former president denounce political persecution, while government supporters defend the legality of the decision. Popular mobilization shows that the episode goes beyond the legal sphere, becoming a catalyst for social and political tensions. Bolsonaro's arrest is solidified as an event that redefines not only national politics but also Brazil's position on the international stage. The arrest of Jair Bolsonaro is now being treated as a historic milestone in Brazilian politics. The Supreme Court reinforced its role as guardian of constitutional order, while opposition sectors accused the judiciary of political bias. International repercussions continue to expand. Analysts note that Washington is monitoring developments and considering possible responses, such as individual sanctions, suspension of military cooperation, and technological restrictions. These possibilities are treated as analyses, not finalized decisions, reflecting the seriousness attributed to the case. Domestically, polarization has intensified. Demonstrations in support of the former president gained strength, while pro-government groups defended the legality of the decision. Popular mobilization shows that the episode goes beyond the legal sphere, becoming a catalyst for social and political tensions. Bolsonaro's arrest has consolidated itself as an event that redefines not only national politics but also Brazil's position internationally, projecting the country as a protagonist in global debates on democracy and institutional stability. The arrest of Jair Bolsonaro has become one of the most significant episodes in Brazil's recent political history. The case not only mobilized allies and opponents but also placed the country at the center of international attention. Analysts emphasize that the Supreme Court's decision reinforces the role of institutions as guardians of constitutional order, while at the same time intensifying opposition accusations of politicization through the judiciary. On the international stage, the repercussions continue to grow. Observers point out that the United States may redirect greater attention to Latin America, considering possible responses such as individual sanctions, suspension of military cooperation, and technological restrictions. These possibilities are treated as analyses rather than finalized decisions, reflecting the seriousness attributed to the episode. Domestically, the event has deepened social polarization. Demonstrations in support of the former president have gained strength, while pro-government groups defend the legality of the decision. Popular mobilization shows that the case goes beyond the legal sphere, becoming a catalyst for political and social tensions. Bolsonaro's arrest represents a watershed moment. The outcome will depend on how institutions handle the process and on international reactions, in a context marked by geopolitical shifts and expectations of greater U.S. attention toward Latin America. End of the report, folks. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and join the conversation in the comments. If you'd like to support us directly, consider making a donation using the link in the description or the QR code on screen. Your contribution helps us work better, and keeps this project alive and independent. Thank you so much. And see you in the next report. This content is a narrative adaptation based on public themes of global geopolitics. The version presented has been transformed with a unique style, based on public information, analysis, and opinions, and is intended solely to inform and entertain.